a little about the Soviet Union, Jews in the Soviet Union didn't have the connection with Judaism during the years of the Soviet Union. Any religion was forbidden, any Jewish thought was repressed until 80s, and only from 90s Jews could identify themselves as Jews and express their feelings toward Israel. So what we see today, that these Jews, Russian-speaking Jews who live in the West, that most pro-Israeli Jews actually in the West, as we see, and we see that we still need support of the Jews to the state of Israel. And you all know about the Jewish lobby in the United States, AIPAC, and so on. So we definitely appreciate that this lobby should exist, and we think that the Russian-speaking Jews will be the future leaders in this kind of lobby. And we're doing everything to strengthen this, their part and their leadership part in these kind of institutions. And we have in our board of governors the leaders of these communities from the United States, from Canada, from Germany, and the president of our organization is a known businessman and philanthropist and the president of the Jewish community of Kiev in Ukraine. So actually we a global organization that combines Jews, Russian-speaking Jews from all over the world. So this is what we do. And
his name is Alexander Levin.
Alexander Levin, exactly. And what actually the message that I would like to bring to you, that I think that is very important, and I don't know what is the content, to what content people, I think, in the world understand that. We tend to call to the conflict that you definitely heard about during the last days as Israeli-Arab conflict or Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But Israel is, as you definitely heard during the last days, tends to be not the state of Israelis, but the state of Jews. And not all the Jews live in Israel. Still, majority of Jews yet live in diaspora, as we call it, outside of Israel. But they understand that Israel is their basis for security. And I don't have to remind to each one of you coming from Europe what happened to Jews before they had a state. Okay? And it's not only 70 years ago, it's 700 years ago and 500 years ago, and we had many cases in our history during the last 2,000 of years that Jews suffered enough because they didn't have a state. So Jews today outside of Israel, even those who still choose not to come to Israel and to stay in Europe, to stay in Russia, to stay in Canada, or in the United States, they understand that strong Israel is their security. So we should understand why there are lobbies of Jews and why Jews support Israel and why Jews support strong Israel and not compromising Israel, and sometimes even take Israel into less compromising approach. But we must understand that a Jew that lives in Vancouver or in New York or in Moscow or in Kiev, even if he doesn't live in Israel, doesn't speak Hebrew, he understands that the reason that he can be secure outside of Israel is strong Israel, strong IDF, because one of the best and the worst things Jews have is very long memory. We have Pesach, Passover. When we remember what happened to us in details, 3,000 and more years ago. So you definitely can assume that unfortunately we remember things that happened to us 500 years ago, and even 70 years ago, and we understand that the best answer to this is prosperous and strong state of Israel, and we must not forget that. And this support is not only good to Israel. This support is also good for the Jews outside of Israel, because they understand that this is a base of their Jewish identity. For example, who we speak about, the Russian-speaking Jews, they don't have roots with the Jewish religion for the last 2 generations. Okay, you know, there was no religion in the Soviet Union. So their connection to Judaism is through the national Jewish idea. What is the national Jewish idea? The State of Israel. So the State of Israel is their way to be Jewish, because that's why also they support Israel so much. So that's one of the messages that I would like to bring. And the second, I think, you know, and I think that for Europe today, it should be even much more understood that I think that Israeli security is good not only for Jews outside of Israel, but to non-Jewish Europeans and even for the whole West. And because I think that the clash of civilization that we tend to speak about, Israel is, you know, on the front line of this clash, sometimes, by the way, gaining, you know, hits, as we think, that we don't deserve, but we understand that this is part of our fight, and sometimes we feel that we fight for everybody, for Europe and for the United States, even when we are not enough understood. But we definitely think that, you know, that what Israel have with the war of against terror and the fight for the understanding of modern and Western values, you know, we fight the fight of all the democratic world. So this is, I think, what was important for me to say. And until recently, I was also the Russian media advisor for the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and I was dealing also with the Russian-speaking Israelis and also, you know, explaining and advocating Israeli positions to Russian media, not Jewish, Russian media, toward Russia and Ukraine. So, as you understand, the last 2 years, and especially the last year, it was much more work in this field. But from the last April, I'm not officially the spokesman of the Prime Minister for this kind of press, so I'm doing it outside of a formal position and interviewing much about, you know, Russian interests and we have a lot of Russian interests in Europe and outside of Europe, and definitely here. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer, but not getting too much time from our friends, Face of Israel, who also want to represent themselves. And enjoy the food, enjoy staying in Israel.